to clean that up and make sure everybody knew what was happening with those, at least as far as I'm aware. So we'll start with the motion for this evening. The first one is just cleaning up, actually I'll just read the motion from the docket of April 5th, 2022. I move to delete an erroneous reference of Jewel Ave at Burndale from existing ordinance for yield signs 10-4.6.
Second.
Thank you. So this is just to clean up the reference that's still in the ordinances for the yield sign that has now been replaced with a stop sign. Are there any comments or questions on that?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay. The next item to discuss, let's see, we took care of that one. So I'll quickly address the status of the proposal to establish a process for the removal and modification of permanent speed humps. This is one of the items that was identified as, we have an item for putting them in, a process for getting the residents involved, talking through what's needed, having the public hearings, and going through the process to get them in. But what happens if 5 or 10 years from now it no longer serves the purpose for which we've installed it, or it's creating problems that were unforeseen? How do we then remove it? So what right now the Traffic Study Commission is looking at this. They have taken a preliminary look at it and made some recommendations and generally have concurred with the language. I will be meeting with them on the 26th to get their recommendations in person. And if they had any additional thoughts, I'd be happy to bring that for whatever committee meeting follows that meeting. Just to discuss their recommendations. And I believe that this one still needs to go for a public hearing. So we will, we're leaving the public hearing open on this one. So that date will be determined when we will close that. Yes.
Council Bennett, so after I submitted that amendment, I've heard from the administration, and so some of it's on me. I did not consult the administration before submitting the amendment, and I understand that the mayor and the police chief have some concerns about the current language.
Okay.
So I have rewritten it for consideration, and I thought I had a copy for you, but if I could give you and Councilor Dolan a copy in your boxes.
Sure.
Because they just had concerns about the way that it was written and reporting requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So I apologize for the error, but I heard from them after I had submitted it, so.
Oh, no worries. That sounds perfect. And then if there's significant revisions, I'll go back to the Traffic Study Commission, just get their opinion on it as well, see if they had any issues. They've been such an asset to the committee and really are taking each one of these issues and looking at them very carefully to make sure that they don't conflict with something else or potentially cause an issue we may not see. Okay.
Yep. And so if I may, just to state on the record, I will have Virginia send or print you out, you and Councilor Dolan, a copy so we can discuss it further at the next committee meeting, or you can bring it to the Traffic Study Commission. But just so you know the origin of the change, it's because the administration had some concerns, which I think were fair in retrospect. So I apologize for the...
Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate the update on that. Okay. And the next item I would like to briefly discuss is the commercial vehicle provisions, the proposed amendments to Chapter 10 that's pending, as well as Chapter 17. These are currently being reviewed by the Planning Board. I met briefly with Gary Orasian to discuss some of the issues and the concerns that they had. They had originally voted down the proposed amendments, not as written in our agenda, but some other revisions that Gary would like to bring before us for consideration. So they're reconsidering, they're taking another look at it, but we don't have the updated recommendations just yet. But there is a possibility that this language, the proposal itself that is currently read in, may be amended as well based on their recommendations that may come up. So I'll be waiting for that, and then I will, the same way with the last one we just discussed, we'll bring those recommendations up to potentially amend what's before the committee. And the last item is a relatively new item. We have, actually, I'm sorry, this one's been lingering for a bit. This one from the docket of October 19th, 2021. There is to be referred for study and recommendation, a request to review traffic and speeding patterns on widely used cut-through streets. Specifically, this is for South Attleboro and looking specifically at Mendon Road and Carlton Streets. This was referred by Councilor Reynolds. I don't have a lot of background on this. This was before my time on the council, so I'm not sure if either of you have any recollection of this being discussed previously.
I don't even see it on the agenda. I'm looking, because I don't have I don't have all your motions, I just have tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, I
can
recall
hold this
it
one.
came down, obviously it was from Council Reynolds in South Attleboro, but there's a lot of traffic that cuts through various places. I'm pretty sure it was on the Traffic Study Commission agenda before I left, and the conversation had just begun. But I don't recall if Council Reynolds, I'll have to see if she sent an email that detailed her concerns. If so, I'll forward it, but you may want to reach out to her because it came from her, hearing from her constituents out there, but
Okay.
it's kind of some general concerns.
All right, and that's it for this evening. Are there any other questions or comments or any other points for discussion this evening? All right, I move to adjourn the Traffic and Transportation Committee at 6:36.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
That's the only committee meeting.
Yeah,
Remember
that's
it,
it.
even though it's there.
I'm going home. I said I'm going home.
You know this? But you- hold on, none of you know. There you go.
This meeting of the Attleboro Municipal Council will now come to order. Please join me to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Motion's in order. I'm going to suspend the rules so that we can change the order a little bit and have committee of the whole before hearing the mayor's communications. That's all. Any other discussion? Although this calls for a roll call vote, starting with Councilor Waterman. And Councilor Waterman, we're voting on suspending the rules.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Kobus?
Yes.
9 yeas, 1 nay.
Motion passes. So first, we will go to the public hearings. Madam Clerk, will you read the first public hearing?
Certainly. Public hearing to address the license application to waive section 11-15.2 to serve alcoholic beverages or wine on city property from the Burgundian Restaurant at 55 Park Street from April through October.
Thank you. Is there anybody to speak in favor? To the podium, please. And your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi. My name is Shane Matlock. I'm the owner of Burgundian at 55 Park Street in Adelboro.
Thank you. And
Yeah,
you're going to speak in favor?
Absolutely. It's great to be here. Always a pleasure seeing you, my good man. And really, I'm just asking for, we have applied for 6 seats, 6 two-person seats outside of Burgundian. Little red, French-looking seats, so during the day we can kind of let people enjoy some of that nice atmosphere that we have downtown. So we can, there's not a lot of direct sunlight, so we can kind of shove some people outside as well. We're pretty busy a lot of times, so outdoor seating would be nice, and we're going to do it from pretty much whenever the weather warms up all the way to October when it gets cold, and generally when the hours are open.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Councilor Waterman?
Thank you. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Councilman?
So one of the reasons you're applying, I assume, is so that you can serve alcoholic beverages and wine?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
That's
yes.
part of the point of it.
Okay. Yes.
And there'll be room on the sidewalk for people to walk by. And
Absolutely. Because they're just two-person tables, they're going to be all the way up against the window, so there's not going to be any blockage of traffic. Yeah.
that'll be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councilor Angelo?
Not really a question, I apologize, but it's just a statement. I think this is great. I think this will add a nice flair to the city when you're walking by. I think it just looks really good, and I fully support this.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? All right. Councilor Waterman, do you see any reason to leave this open?
I do not.
I declare this public hearing closed. Madam Clerk, will you read the second public hearing?
Absolutely. Public hearing to address the license application to waive section 11-15.2 to serve alcoholic beverages or wine on city property from Morin's Inc. at 16 South Main Street from May through October.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name's Tom Moore, and I have an address of 12 Church Street in North Attleboro. So I am here on behalf of my younger brother, very humbling experience, but John Moran, who's proposing 3 high-top tables right outside. I think it's safe to say most people know the restaurant right over here. So if you're looking at the restaurant, there's a room right next to or adjacent to the patio, and just like last year, we're going to try to get the 3 high-top tables. They're movable. There's plenty of room for wheelchair accessibility. 2 seats apiece, so it'd be 6 people total. And similar to what we just heard with the Burgundian, I think it's going to be a good look. John always does it right, so the restaurant's looking forward to it, assuming that approves.
Are there any questions from the council?
The only question, excuse me.
Sure. Councilor Waterman.
The only question I might have is that I think there's a little less sidewalk
There is.
room there than there might be on Park. But I'm presuming that there'll be plenty of room for somebody to walk around.
And, you know, I spoke to my brother about that, the fact that the tables are movable. So if there's any sort of issue, we can reconfigure how the tables are set up. And even if worst comes to worst, just pull them in, pull one of the tables in. And they're I think they're 24 by 24, the small tables. It's only for 6 people.
Are there any other comments from the council? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Councilor Waterman, would you like to close this public hearing?
I would like to close it.
I declare the public hearing closed. Madam Clerk, will you read the last public hearing?
Certainly. Public hearing to address the request from Old Colony Habitat for Humanity to waive certain permit fees for the construction of the next Habitat build, which will take place on Pike Avenue. The request includes the following fees: building permit, mechanical permit, electric 35%, plumbing at 35%, gas, HVAC 35%, new water service fee, and sewer connection.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
No, sir.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Councilor Holmes, would you like to close this public hearing?
I would.
Thank you. I declare this public hearing closed.
One more.
All right.
Todd, one more public hearing.
Oh, the last public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you read the last public hearing?
Thank you, sir. Public hearing to discuss a proposed amendment to Ordinance 10-4.11 isolated stop signs by adding westbound drivers on Jewel Avenue at Hawthorne Street.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? All right, Councilor Bennett, would you like to close the public hearing?
Yes, please, thank
I
you.
declare the public hearing closed. Thank you. All right, moving on. All right, I entertain a motion to go into committee of the whole.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We are in committee of the whole. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council? And just for the record, if you could state your name and
Sure.
address.
Vice President Kobus, members of the council, my name is John Lepper. I live at 311 Newport Avenue in Attleboro. And I'm a member of the Council on Aging Board. And I'd like to introduce the members of the board who are here this evening. Joe Forsey, the chair. Carolyn O'Connor, the vice chair, the co-chair. Dr. Ray Gillette, the secretary. Dr. Stephen Benson. Frank Cook, your former colleague, is sitting here. Karen Hammond, David Larson, Juliet Texera, and Kurt Wheaton. Our purpose in coming here tonight is to respectfully but firmly request that you bring forward and vote favorably on the mayor's request for an appropriation for a feasibility study for the Council on Aging. The current building's 100 years old. It's got historical significance, and it probably should be preserved, but not as a Council on Aging. It's too small, and there's totally inadequate parking. In Adelboro, you have 10,000 senior citizens over 60 years old, 9,500 of them who are registered voters, and they like the program. And it's fortunate that we have a community partner in the Good News Chapel who allow us to carry on our programs, because if you were limited to the building over there, that wouldn't happen. It's very hard to think about having an exercise class at the Council on Aging where you could only have probably 20 people crowded in, and 50 people come to the Good News Chapel. I think tomorrow they're going to have a Mother's Day breakfast or lunch. 100 people are coming. 100 people have bought tickets. The only restriction is they don't have any more tables. That's the kind of response we get to our program. And there are many other programs which benefit the seniors. Now, we know that there are probably some of you and other members of the community that don't realize this deficiency. And in order to make sure that you understood this and others understood it, we documented it with a needs assessment study, which most of you appropriated money for back in 2019. That needs assessment study involved a survey of 1,000, or it was a survey of 3,000, but 1,000 senior citizens in Attleboro answered that survey. And then there was a community comparison with other communities, with Barnstable and Chicopee and Leominster and Peabody and Taunton. The conclusion, quote, the physical space and location of the Adelboro COA does not currently meet the range of ages and interests of the Attleboro older population, unquote. Quote, compared to the peer communities, Attleboro seniors occupy the smallest and the oldest space. That's in the Commonwealth. That's in the Commonwealth. Now, in order to carry out a strategic plan that would be carry out some of the recommendations of this study or the needs of this study, we were able to have the skillful leadership of Amanda Blunt, who you know as the head of the Literacy Center. We came up with 5 things that need to be done, and the first thing was more space. You can't carry out programs if you don't have space, and you have to have accessibility. There's 4 dedicated parking spaces for the Council on Aging. 4. And you've got 10,000 senior citizens over 60 years of age. Now, to further the objective of doing something about this and planning for the future, in February of this year, the mayor asked you to fund a feasibility study for the COA. Our director, Melissa Tucker, has been up here a couple of times to explain why this is necessary. She brought Jack Jacoby with her. Jack Jacoby is, of course, the chairman of the Municipal Building Commission. Jack told you that a feasibility study is for 3 things: to figure out the layout, how much space do you need, how much is it going to cost, and where is it going to go. The Finance Committee has asked for several additional pieces of information, and Melissa has provided that to the best of her ability. It's now May. It's been before you for 3 months. Now, we fully understand that the Finance Committee is going to be extremely busy with the budget coming up. I mean, Frank and I are both former chairmen. We know how busy you're going to be, and therefore it is time to bring this thing forward. There's not a better time to bring it forward. You've got a record amount of free cash. You underestimated it last year, you get more, and you're not going to have that again. That's not going to happen again. I can tell you, it's not going to happen again. And also, you've got a willing community partner. that are taking up the slack for the city. That can go away. The Good News Chapel used to be a polling place for Ward 2. It isn't anymore. It used to have a very active Boy Scout troop. It doesn't anymore. And that is their choice. And that could happen to the Council on Aging. So we want you, we request, how can we put it? I mean, we have all of these folks here that take part in that program. All these folks in blue shirts. They want you to act. They want you to do something. They don't care whether your ward is on the Norton line or on the Pawtucket line. They want it to come out. So please, bring it out and act on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And before we go to questions, anyone? And double ACS, if you could pan to the crowd and anybody with the blue shirt or everybody supporting this, if you could stand up so we could get a rough count of how many people are here. Somebody want to count? Roughly how many is that?
About 300.
I count 1,000 people. Oh, perfect.
It's at least enough, anyway.
Yeah, okay. It's fun. Thank you so much, everyone. And Mr. Lepper, if you could come back. Are there any questions?
Oh, questions, right.
Council.
Thank you for coming.
Council DeSimone?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you very much, Mr. Lepper. I appreciate your comments. My question is, so we go forward on the feasibility study, but the parking issue remains in the short term.
Yes, it does. I think you're going to have a hearing on that next week or the week after, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least as it pertains to the.
Yeah, that's a stopgap measure. You could dedicate all of the parking in that parking lot, and you're not going to accommodate the people in this room. I mean, you've got to have a long-term plan. That long-term plan is what we're asking for. It's outlined here. It's on your webpage. If you want, take a look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have any other comments or questions from the council? Hearing none. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks,
John.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak?
Yes. Good evening, Acting President Kobus, members of the council, City Clerk Jackson. Good to see so many of you again. As you know, my name is Ryan Cook, and I live at 32 Division Street here in the city, obviously. What I want to say tonight was all of us who serve as board members, and John gave you the list of all of us who serve on this board, were appointed by either past or the present mayor, and we were confirmed by either past councils or the present councilors. And the purpose of that was to assist the Council on Aging Department to fulfill their mission of enabling older residents to live independently and with dignity in our community. And that's why so many of the seniors are here tonight, and that's why the board is here. So my purpose tonight is to join my fellow board members and the seniors of our city to speak in support of the COA feasibility study, which Mayor Haro sent to you, as John mentioned, back on the 1st of February. Having served 18 years on the municipal council, I know very well how busy you're all about to get as you head into May and June with the budget. Like John, as John referenced, I too served as the chair of the Finance Committee of the council for 4 years, the 4 years prior to my becoming council president. I totally understand, obviously, the challenges of finalizing the budget and the investment of time that's going to be required by each of you at this time of year. Very, very busy time. Accordingly, I believe it is in the best interest of the council, the COA, as well as the city, to resolve the feasibility study request, which has been before you for 3 months, before you begin the budgetary process. You all know about this little study. As John referenced, it's on the website. When this came out in June of 2020, those of you who are on the council received a copy of it. Rather thorough. It confirmed a lot of the things that we knew were going on within the city. One of the findings of this study 2 years ago was that it projected that the city's age 60 or older segment of our population will increase up to 28% of the total population of the city by 2030. That's in 8 years. With the increase in the senior population will obviously come an increase in the need for services which will take place in a building that is already inadequate to meet our current needs. About half of you served with me sometime during the council. And probably if I ask you what was the one thing that I'm probably most apt to give up the chair and talk about, it was unfunded mandates. But before I got involved with unfunded mandates, what actually propelled me back in 1989 to get involved in the city was areas where it appeared to me that planning and long-term planning was lacking. And that led to then Mayor Kay Shang appointing me to the planning board, and then the rest is kind of history, I guess, at this point. So after 32 years, here I still am talking about the need for planning. And the feasibility study is one of those tools because there are several storms on the horizon for this city. And one of them is the one I just mentioned of the growing population of our seniors. So what are we going to do? The existing building is inadequate, and that situation is really only going to worsen with the growing senior population. Over the last 3 years, the COA board has received mixed messages about the viability of relocating to the former Highland Country Clubhouse. I know I have fielded questions from people who have said that part of the problem is that the COA board can't make up its mind. It's not that we can't make up its mind, it's that we keep getting mixed signals about the Highland Country Club. If you go back and look in the papers ever since the property was bought in 2018, there's been a not-again, off-again proposal. How much will that cost, to renovate? Councilor Waterman, a year ago, actually, had set up a second visit with the economic director and the members of the board to go over and look at that building. I was amazed at how much that building had deteriorated in such a short amount of time. And that's not unusual with buildings that are left like that. But that was the second time the council had been there. Remember, too, that the mayor's own task force on Highland Park rejected the idea of retrofitting that building as a senior center. So again, it seems like it's on, and then we start looking at it, and then it's off the table. We're back to square one. Again, so what are we going to do? All right? Should we instead build a new center on part of that land, which has also been talked about? How much space is needed? How much will that cost? Should we build a new senior center somewhere else in the city? Where is the best location for that? And how much will that cost? And we know that if we go on land that's not city-owned, the price tag is going to go up. And whenever a government entity, as you all know, starts to build any sort of structure, the price tag goes up. Whereas if John Q. Public was doing it on their own, it would be a lot less. But there's all these various restrictions that have been put in place by the state government that hamper us and drive up the cost, not only to the council and the mayor in trying to make that decision, but it's the taxpayers who have to fund it. Should we be looking for space to rent or perhaps lease for a future buy? Our board chair and myself made such a recommendation in a meeting with the mayor several months ago. Along that line, I want to thank Councilor Conti for the lengthy discussions we had about possible rental space within the city, for a potential senior center. So the only clear answer right now is, as a city, we don't know which option is best. It is for this reason that the COA board has requested a feasibility study. The study should examine the situation. It will examine the situation. It will identify possible locations. It will determine costs for each proposed solution. And then equipped with this information, the mayor, the council, and the city will be able to make an informed, cost-effective decision. Accordingly, I respectfully request that you vote the study out of committee before you begin the budget process, preferably next week, and that you bring it to a full vote of the council. As I close, my sincere thanks for allowing me to take this time, and also I want to thank those counselors who have taken the time to speak with me or return my calls about the COA and the need for the study. So thank you very much, and good luck with the budget. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cook?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else here that would like to address the council? So overall, I counted 43 people here total. I think that's roughly accurate. I could be plus or minus a few people, but I think we'll hear one more person to speak on this matter, and then I think that's sufficient. I prefer not to have everybody speak about the same thing. So if you will.
Okay, I'm Steve Benson. I want to come at this from a little bit of a different angle. I'm a long-standing resident of Attleboro, obviously on the Council of Aging, but also a practicing internist and geriatrician in this town. I practice at 100 O'Neill Boulevard and have for the past 35 years, and live at 1 Westwood Park Circle. And I really want to be here as an advocate for them, for our 10,000 plus seniors that we have. We need to do something for them. They are a varied group, some younger and more healthy, some older and more frail. Some are living in nursing homes and some in assisted livings. Many of them are in their own homes and in their own apartments, which is where they want to stay. The geriatric literature is very clear that really what they need is good nutrition. They need socialization, and they need exercise at the individual level, and at the population level, they need that in a communal setting. They need a space that is big enough, safe enough, welcoming enough, where they can gather together and get those services. We have those services, but we are crimped and cramped, and it's literally impossible to provide that to the numbers of people that want it, let alone the fact that there's that it's inaccessible, that people can't get there and can't park there. We need a place for them to go. We need a place for them to gather. We need a place for the services for them. It's cost effective. I was at the American College of Physicians meeting last week, and a gentleman gave an hour talk who lives outside of Indianapolis, and the healthcare system there partnered with their local town and showed that they actually cut Medicare expenditures in half by their population. If we were to do that with these 10,000 people, that would save much more money than what it's ever going to cost to build a senior center. So at the end of the day, it's what we need to do. It's the right thing. It's what they need. It's what's going to help keep them safe and keep them healthy and keep them in their homes. And it's cost effective to all of us, the taxpayers of this wonderful city. I'm also happy to say that there's a new sheriff in town at the hospital, and I think the hospital is looking forward to working with the council of Aging, and expanding services as well. And this is a really, really good time, I think, in Adelboro. I'm proud to be an Adelborian. I always have been proud to be one, but I'm really looking forward to the future, because I think we are going to see our city blossom in a lot of different ways. And having, an active, beautiful senior center that we can build off is going to be a real part of that. Thank you for building such a beautiful high school. I think that's great for the kids. Now it's time that we build something that's cost effective for these wonderful seniors. It's way overdue. It's time, and we need to do that. So thank you for listening to all of us and helping us as we go forward.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the council? Councilor Waterman.
Thank you very much. So what I'm getting out of what you're saying, Doctor, is that by building a new senior center, we might very well improve the health
And it's not just physical, it's mental as well.
Correct. Without doubt. I mean, it's going to improve their health in every facet. I mean, lost in all of this also is the SHINE program, which is really, really instrumental in helping these people navigate all of the financial difficulties and issues that are going on that they have to face as well. This is a very vulnerable, fragile population that needs this help. So yes, it helps them in every way.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council?
Just one quick from a younger perspective.
If you could, sure, if you could, super fast, but talk into the microphone.
First of all, my name is Annette Hicks. I live at 114 Robert Street, Attleboro, Mass. Mr. Conti, it's very nice to see you. I haven't seen you in many, many years. Same with you, Mr. Blaze. And I am on my toes so I can see over the bench here. The doctor had mentioned back about the school, thanking you for building the school. Just a little reminder, back in 1973, they built the second addition on the new high school that's going to be coming down. The reason they did that was because of the overpopulation of children. Those children are our seniors of today. We need that senior center. I'm not there yet, but I'm looking out for my future. I'm looking out for the health of myself and my family, to be able to get out and mingle with people when I'm retired and I can enjoy my time. I have 3 generations that are from this town. My grandparents were business owners in Attleboro, and they paid their dues. They didn't have the luxury of having a nice senior center or a roomy senior center. Same with my mother. I want to see that. I want to see that for the seniors that are voting in the schools that are being utilized by our children. They're paying taxes to pay for that school. And I think that they deserve to have a little compensation given back to them.
Thank you. What does your shirt say?
I'm not a senior yet, but I'm almost there. But I do vote.
What's the back of the shirt say?
I vote.
You get your hood
Seniors.
You take the hood off.
Attleboro senior vote.
There we go. All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? I think we're gonna.
Additive.
What's it?
Additive. We want anything additive.
Anything additive. Anything that hasn't been mentioned before.
So I'm just going to. My name is.
Quickly,
My name is Julia Texera. I reside in Ward 2.
I'll allow. This is the last person.
Okay.
All right.
I reside in Ward 2, 5 Hanish Road. So I am on the board of the Council on Aging, and I'm actually just going to cut my remarks. But I did want to say, I'm one of those younger seniors. Some of you are on this council in my age group or a little older, and I recently retired. But I'm also a single parent. I'm a foster parent of 2 teens, or a guardian of 1 teen and a foster parent of another. So I'm active in both the school system. I'm also active with the Council on Aging. I think some of you know me, but I always say, if I go by that adage, if you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. So I'm active. I volunteer in things, and I joined the Council on Aging because I needed, well, first of all, I joined the board. I wanted to see them doing things for younger seniors, right? I'm one of them. But I needed that socialization. So I volunteer there. I take part in programs when I can. But let me tell you, it is hard to get parking. And I volunteered at the tax clinic February through April. I'd get there at 8 o'clock in the morning, couldn't get parking. Sometimes I had to park a few blocks away. And I lead a hiking group every week, which I have 12 to 21 seniors. And we're hiking different properties in Attleboro and the surrounding area. Everybody's asking me, when are we getting a senior center? Someone told me last week, well, I like the programs at the council, but I can't get parking, so I just don't go. I go to North Attleboro because it's a lot easier. So I just wanted to throw those in there. So I don't know. The mayor sent out the request for the feasibility study in February. I think it's time that, I don't know what the holdup is. There seems to be some kind of holdup, something's going on, but I think it's time that you take and vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right. Is there anybody else that wants to address the council? And Professor Harris, I think, if you want to address the council. And if you want to have the students also come up.
Sure, so the BU team can come on up.
What's your full name?
So nice to meet you all. Nice to address you, council people. So my name is Professor Benjamin Harris from Boston University. And over the course of the last 4 months.
You can also give your address.
Oh, address. So I'm a Billerica resident, actually. I don't live locally, but I grew up in North Attleboro, so driving down here was very fond memories for me. So I'm not a Adelboro resident, but have many memories of Weather Lanes and Capron Park as a child, so it's fond to me. So our reason for being here this evening was over the past semester we've been working in conjunction with Councilor Kobus and Councilor Bennett so I teach in the Applied Business Analytics program at BU, so we've had a team of graduate students taking a look at accident and weather pattern data over the last 20 years with Adelboro as a focus. They wanted to see what are known patterns that we can find as far as traffic safety. Can we bring this to a point of prediction? Right? How far can we push this to be a public safety aid for the town? So we've reached the end of our semester, so I'm glad to introduce the students to actually get to show what they've looked at through the data they were able to collect and what they'll bring to the council. So I'll turn it over to the student team.
Can we move this?
What's that?
Can we move that out? So that
We can't see it.
Yes.
That would be a point of order.
Yeah, if Councilor Angela, if you could move that. And yeah, it's been great to work with you guys, and this is the presentation of a study of Attleboro traffic.
turn it. Just turn it.
Just turn it.
There you go.
Turn it more.
We're out a little too far.
Turn it more.
Oh, sweet Lord.
And when you speak, if you can make sure you speak into the microphone so that people can hear it that are watching on TV. So, do we have a clicker?
It's right there. On the podium.
In front of the podium. Professor Harris, if you could drive that.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Di Ha, and I'm going to talk about the data source of our analysis. So we collect our data from Massachusetts Traffic Department, and also we collect our weather data from National Weather Service. And our data contains 20 years, our data set contains 20 years of data from 2002 and 2022. And after we were exploring the data set, we found there are many errors and missing values. So we got rid of those errors. Then it left us with 18,000 rows of data. And our whole analysis is based on these 18,000 rows of data. And we found there are some other analysis online have different results from ours. That's because their data source is different from ours, and their data length is different from ours. Next one, please.
Point of order, yeah.
And
if we can keep it quiet back there.
In the first part of our analysis, we try to explore the data and try to have a basic understanding of this data set. So we generated a heat map based on 20 years of data. And then we found that most accidents occur around downtown area. In the past 20 years, there are 5,048 accidents happen around the downtown area. And followed by that, the intersection of I-95 and Newport Avenue has the accident of 1,478 accidents. And intersection between I-95 and South Avenue has the 1,143 accidents. And the intersection between I-95 and Washington Avenue has 1,152 accidents. And the intersection between I-95 and I-295 has 985 accidents.
So over the last 20 years, there were totally 22,262 accidents in total, and on average, there were 1,113 accidents per year. From 2002 to 2013, the number of accidents was on the decline, and got its bottom point in 2013. However, after that, this number increased rapidly and got its peak in 2016. What's more, we still need to pay attention because the number of accidents in 2021 was much higher than the number in 2020, increased by about 39.5%. Next. According to the plot of vehicles involved in fatal accidents, it can be seen that this number of average vehicles was very high from 2005 to 2009. And the reason is that in these years, the vehicles were so very much, and then we still need to pay attention because in 2019, this number also increased very much. From this plot of fatal accidents involving drunk persons, we can see that this number was very high in 2007, 2008, and 2009, much higher than in other years. The reason should be the economic downturn during the financial crisis. However, we still need to pay attention because from 2017 to 2019, this number was also increased. Next. And then from this plot, through analyzing the accidents distribution by weekday, we can see that for every week, the Friday usually has the highest incidence of traffic accidents, and the Sunday usually has the lowest incidence of traffic accidents. Then we analyze the accidents distribution by time. We can see that most accidents happened in the PM hours. The number of PM hours accidents was much higher than the AM hours. And especially for Friday. For Friday, the accidents happened in PM hours are much higher than in the AM hours.
And with the density map, it's easier for us to find the pattern, accidents pattern. So we use the 20 years of data set to generate two density maps. So in the first density maps, if we just look at the rows, we can find out in January, October, November, and December, they have the most accidents throughout the year. So we consider these 4 months as high accident density month. And especially December. December actually has the highest accidents throughout the year. You can see December has 10.2% of the total accidents are in December. So this is considered the most dangerous the month to drive. Also, we can, if we look at the column, we can find that Friday has the highest rate here as 17.2%, and we consider Friday as the most dangerous days of week to drive. Also, there are some other insights from this chart. We can find that in March and May, most accidents happen on Thursday, and in June, most accidents happen on Wednesday. Next one, please. And from this chart, we can find that most accidents happens at 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. From Monday to Friday. And it counts for about 32% of the total accidents. And also in the morning, most accidents happen at 7 a.m. So it's surged from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. On Saturday, most accidents happen around 12 p.m. And also, if we just look at the time and the accidents rate, we can find that from here, I'm sorry, the number doesn't clear. So for there's 7.71% accident rate at 2 p.m. and 7.89% accident rate at 3 p.m. and it reached to a highest point and at 4 p.m. as 8.31%. And then it decreased a little bit at 5 p.m. to 8.14%. Then it dropped significantly at 6 p.m. to 5.79%. So from these two density map, we can get an interesting insight that the most dangerous time to drive is at 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Friday in December. And if we want to be more specifically, it's going to be 4 p.m. on Friday in December. And now this is about the general analysis. We know you want to know more about the accident's location.
So in this part, we will focus on the rush hour and the distributed locations of crashes during the rush. So based on the statistics, after data cleaning, a total of 21,491 crashes occurred in past 20 years, of which 6,927 crashes happened between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. It's accounting for 32.23% of the total. So this is a period of rush to go out and get out of work. Here's a map which shows the distribution of crashes between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. We can see the orange dot here shows two trajectories. The first, the highway runs from the north to the southwest, is a dense area where accidents always occur during the rush. And most importantly, there is a road colored by orange running from southwest to northeast. It's connected by Washington Street, West Street, Source Avenue, County Street, and Pleasant Street. This is also a sensitive area for rush hour accidents. So the Attleboro is divided into 4 sections by I-95 and this road. The most rush hour accidents are concentrated in northeast and southwest of the city.
So now I'm going to do some manner of collision analysis. During the last 20 years, the accident happened in Attleboro. There are about 70% accident involved with 2 vehicles, and 23% involved with only 1 vehicle, and 5.68% involve 3 vehicles, and the remaining 1.1% involve more than 3 vehicles. Also from the left graph, we can saw the top 5 most common manner of collisions. The type 1 is angle, and type 2 is a rear end, and the third one is a single vehicle crash, and side wipe, same direction, and head on. Also from the right, we can saw the head on has the highest average injury rate, which is 57%. Next, please. From this graph, we can saw the relationship between the manner of collision and the number of fatal collisions. In the last 20 years, the first fatal collisions is a single vehicle crash, which is 25 accidents. And the second is angle, which is 16. And the third one is a rear end, which is 9. Next, please. And from this graph, we can saw the manner of collision and the amount of non-fatal collisions. The top 3 most common is angle, rear end, and single vehicle crash. So those 3 account for 87% of all non-fatal collisions.
This part is about the number of vehicles in the crashes. In addition to one and two vehicle collisions, the serious crashes caused by the simultaneous collisions of 3 vehicles is accounting for 5.7% of the total. And here's a map shows the distribution of crashes caused by this situation. We can see the 4 intersections of Washington Street, Newport Avenue, Highland Avenue, and West Street is the main site of the 3 vehicle collisions. The cars from 4 different ways will meet here. The high traffic and the high speed here are both risk factors. Based on the incomplete statistics, about 222 3-vehicle collisions happened here in past 20 years. And the area around the intersection of County Street and Pleasant Street is also a sensitive area. There have been 173 3-vehicle collisions in the past, making it a very sensitive area in Attleboro. And this page is information from crashes involving more than 3 vehicle collisions, which is accounting for 1.1% of the total. And the intersection, which we just mentioned in previous part, is still a sensitive area prone to serial crashes. Additionally, there have been 23 serial crashes happen near the intersection of Washington Street and May Street, which also has to be mentioned and circled. And the intersection of County Street and Pleasant Street is sensitive for all kinds of crashes, with 43 serial crashes in past.
With the data provided, we conducted analysis to find out some really sensitive locations which are prone to accidents in Adelboro. Most of the accidents have been occurred on I-95 highway, especially over the intersection, ring roads over Newport Avenue and South Ave. Besides I-95, there are some prominent locations within the city which we would like to identify. So in the span of 20 years, 66 fatalities were reported. Most of them were on I-95, but there is one location within the city which experienced a significant number of accidents, which is actually the street surrounding Woodlawn Cemetery and Bungay Park, which is comprising of Holden Street, North Main Street, and Park Street. Next. Approximately 33% of the total accident constitutes to non-fatal, reporting 6,490 injuries. And they are pretty much scattered all over the town, yet we would like to highlight the top 4 locations. The junction of Emory, Broad Junction connecting Emory Street, Pleasant Street, and Park Street is taking the lead with significant number of accidents, followed by the O'Neill Boulevard and Dunham Street, which is the intersection of O'Neill Boulevard and Dunham Street near Sturdy Memorial Hospital. We would also like to include County Square, which is the intersection of County Street and Thatcher Street. And lastly, we would like to mention the intersection at Emory Street and Brook Street, which reported alarming number of accidents. So 1,042 accidents, which are 5% of the total, happen on the snow days, and the high-risk spots are the North Main Street, especially that segment, which is starting from the West Street, stretching towards the exit to Holden Street. Forest Street, it is very apparent on the map, has converged a significant number of accidents converging on both the ends. The intersection of Wall Street and County Street also reported a significant number of accidents, and yet again, the junction of Park Street. 56 accidents were reported on fog days. Interestingly, the locations on which fog accidents occurred is the same where the fatal accidents were reported in the 20 years of time. However, there is a contradiction that none of the fatal accidents happened on fog days. But still, we would like to recommend to install extra lights in order to increase the visibility and reduce the accident count. Around 20% of the total accidents were on rainy days, and the 2 top locations that reported accidents in this situation were County Square and again, the junction of Emory Street. After summarizing all the numbers, we would like to highlight the top 3 high-risk location in Adelboro, considering the fact that County Square and junction of the Park Street is repeatedly mentioned and have experienced accidents in almost every situation. We would like to take both of them as our top 2 high-risk locations. And since Holden Street has reported fatalities, we would like that area to be taken care of.
And then we have a demo video of our predictive model.
And I think if you can just describe the demo, or
Let's watch it.
At the meantime, I'm going to describe the model. So we use the decision tree model to build the predictive model. Basically, the model asks questions. Oh, okay, the demo video.
And you won't be able to hear it, but you can watch it. Do you want to talk?
So what decision model does is that it asks question over and over again. For example, it asks question about what is the temperature today. Maybe the answer is 72 degrees. Then it asks another question until the last question will be, will this location have the accident or not? And the answer will be yes or no. And we use all the data to feed the model. And when model thing is ready to predict, then we use the model to predict the future accidents location. Right now, our accuracy rate for the model is 26%. With the current data, if in the future we have more data, we can improve the accuracy rate significantly. And this is the demo video.
So the bottom line is you input the date tomorrow in the weather, and it will say with 25% accuracy where it expects there to be an accident.
That's better than the weatherman.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
No, I already talked about this.
Yep.
And also, we have a handout.
Thank you.
Give it to you. So
If you give it to Counselor Blair at the end there, and we can pass it around. Thank you. And any questions for the students or Professor Harris?
Great, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Thank
amazing.
you, it's informative.
Counselor Blair?
How much time did you gentlemen and ladies spend on this program?
I don't know, but a lot.
A lot.
So we stay out.
Did it cut into your social life?
Not really, but kind of. But it's also our job.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I can see the work that went into it and the enthusiasm in this group. So it's nice to see young people in that role. And I'm sure the police department will take a look at this. We have a new traffic division over there, so, in the past year. And they're doing a great job, so I'm sure this will help them, I'm sure. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you for all the work you've done.
And I had Counselor Conti next, and then Counselor Holmes.
Professor, listening to the statistics, I was wondering where it was going, and finally it was delivered at the end on predicting. And the student said that with more data we could get more precise in prediction. How much more data until it becomes no valuable return? You analyzed 20 years of traffic accidents, which is a remarkable period. And I think 26% is pretty good. And now I understand why you did the whole project. This predictive model is very valuable. I won't let my wife drive between 2 and 5 on Friday afternoon.
In December.
So I guess my question is that At what point is there a diminishing return on the predictive model?
So, I guess so. The kind of the first question you pointed out is how much more data do you want in order to make this more effective? And as we assessed it through the semester, my intuition suggests that you could go back 40 years in terms of weather and accident data. You might incrementally increase your accuracy. Our next path forward is more likely to be econometric, looking at traffic volumes, at going away from the weather data into almost a very different set of data. Looking at the growth of population growth, economic growth within Attleboro. What does that do to general traffic flow aside from the weather? That's a data fusion problem. That's a much more unique thing to add to this, but it's probably on our next roadmap to push this forward a little bit.
So I observed a massive difference because I worked every day through the pandemic. I observed a massive difference between traffic patterns in Attleboro before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and after the pandemic.
Sure.
And you can almost predict when the people thought the pandemic was over by the volume of traffic on the streets. And quite frankly, I got spoiled during the pandemic of the safety of the streets, and I think my speed increased by at least 10% because there was no one there. Will your predictive model account for that pandemic effect?
So there is definitely a regularization effect when you had the lower track volumes. I also was spoiled in those years. I had to go in every day. Like, boy, it takes me only so and so minutes to get to Boston. This is great. And then it all changed. Now we're back to taking an hour and a half to get down from Boston to here. So yes, there was probably I would say a drop in the predictive accuracy over the last several years, just because of the novelty of the data. Right, you took the previous 20 and then had a very different period during COVID. Now that's a double-edged sword in that when you see a different traffic pattern, it may bring out different patterns of behavior in drivers. Right, they're driving either faster, different times of day. So you potentially gain more insight into accident likelihood. But that is still to be seen as far as the predictive analysis we've seen so far. We're not quite at that maturity to say whether COVID changed that much as far as the risk.
That's so much better than just applying a factor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Holmes?
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this and looking at our city this closely. I'm surprised about September being low. I would think with the kids going back to school that there would be more accidents, so that was a little bit surprising to me. But the number one complaint we get is about speeding, and so I feel like this is helpful about understanding traffic patterns and the accidents and maybe really addressing this in a more productive way. So thank you.
Councilor Bennett?
I just want to take a moment to thank you all for taking the input through the meetings that I was lucky enough to be able to sit in on. Some of the suggestions that I made, I see integrated into what you've done here with the predictive model, and I'm so grateful for it. I know that this tool, or thinking this way, is going to help the city, is going to help the council to make recommendations. It's going to help our police force and where to put their details and where to, hopefully look at speed in certain neighborhoods, and makes us all a little bit more conscious when we're out there in certain weather conditions, when it gets darker earlier, and things like that, factors like that in our everyday life that we may not even realize are impacting the way that we're driving and our potential risks on the road. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Olin and then Councilor Conti.
I just want to say thank you for being here, and this looks like it was a tremendous amount of work, and it's really impressive, and I only speak for myself, but I don't think any of those streets came to a surprise to any of us, honestly, but thank you for all this information, and what an excellent job, and you're all so smart, and it seemed like so much work, but so thank you for being here.
Councilor Conti and then
So Councilor Holmes triggered a thought, and Councilor Bennett, I think, was almost there to mention is that for the first time in the history of Adelboro, last year we implemented a traffic control unit, which is now comprised of 1 sergeant and 2 officers that are using existing patrol cars to patrol. And as soon as we can recruit 2 additional officers, there'll be 4 officers and a sergeant, which will be running 3 shifts. And they're already producing a volume of traffic fines. slowing down, because it is the #1 complaint that counselors and administration receive. This is a social change that's gonna have an impact on your predictive model, because assuming that there's more enforcement, there may be better behavior among drivers. That probably won't show up for a few years, I'm guessing, but I find it fascinating that it could, that it really could.
Sure.
And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Acting President.
Councilor Waterman.
Well, I worked almost that entire time in Roxbury.
Oh, wow.
Back and forth. I figured out 250,000 miles at one point.
Wow.
And a couple of things stood out for me. One was the difference between 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and 7 o'clock. And how much safer that is when you delay your return. And the very fact that you broke that into days of the week were fascinating to me too. I forgot about what Monday was. I believe that Friday, by far, I understand that. And we're all trying to get somewhere on a Friday. What was Mondays like?
What were Mondays like?
Mondays, probably we can go back to the...
We don't have to go.
All right, it's probably in here. I'm just curious.
Oh, the time? The Monday is same pattern as Friday, but with less accidents.
With less accidents.
A little less intense, but same pattern time throughout the day.
So what surprised you folks the most?
Probably the time between 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. because we thought probably the rush hour is going to be around 6 p.m. But it's not. It's 2 p.m. to 5 p.m.
It surprised me that there was as I looked at the students' work, how somewhat risk neutral the morning hours tended to be. Like as you drive in and you look at the red on the traffic map, and well, many things must have happened, but it's a different set of events. It's just it seems mostly volume oriented in the morning. These actually seem like damage in the afternoon. That surprised me, having been a Boston area driver for as long as I have.
Maybe it's because you're not moving.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, hearing none. Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anyone else here to address the council? All right. I entertain a motion to arise from committee of the whole.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are arisen. All right, next is the mayor's communication. So we'll go right into that. Madam Clerk?
Sir, May 3rd, 2022, dear municipal councilors, I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding items that the Council on Aging would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition.
City property and claims.
Thank you. These in your packets. I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding items that the Park and Forestry Department would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. One Ricoh Afico color copier, MPC 2050. Serial number V294907071, very poor condition. One Canon Image Runner, 2200.
City property and claims.
City property and claims, thank you. I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding items that the Treasurer's Office would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for dispositions. Copies in your packet. I respect...
City property and claims.
Thank you. I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Wastewater Thomas Hayes regarding the needs for funds to replace Dimunator cutter screens. Installation of the cutting screens will be performed by wastewater staff. This request includes a 15% contingency. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $13,500 from account 6000-578300 wastewater enterprise fund reserve fund for transfer to account 6000-548042 wastewater enterprise funds, supplies, equipment, maintenance, copies in your packets.
Public Works.
I respectfully submit a communication from Library Director Amy Ringlinger regarding the need for funds for contractual tuition reimbursement. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $1,262 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance general government to account 1610100-532010 library tuition and books. Copies in your packets.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services.
I respectfully submit a communication from Attleboro Public Schools Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, regarding a fiscal year 21 invoice from UMass Chan in the amount of $11,858.78 that was not received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal year 21 business cycle. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to authorize the school department to pay this previous year's school bill totaling $11,858.75 as identified in Mr. Furtado's communications. Copies in your packet.
Finance Committee.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Wastewater Thomas Hayes regarding the need for funds for treatment plant equipment due to cost increases. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $20,000 from account 600-35900 wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings to account 6000-548042 wastewater enterprise fund supplies equipment maintenance. Copies in your packet.
Public Works.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Veterans Services Ben Quell regarding the need to purchase a new vehicle for the Veterans Transportation Program. The proper quotes, have been obtained from vendors on the state bid list that comply with the Green Communities Act. Due to severe supply chain constraints, this request includes a small contingency in the event that a vendor cannot secure the specifically currently agreed upon vehicle. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $35,000 from account 1000-359000 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account 153-11000-587065 Veteran Services Purchase Vehicle. Copies in your packets.
Finance Committee.
I respectfully submit a communication from Director of Budget and Administration Jeremy Stull regarding the need for funds for email encryption software and the unanticipated costs related to migrating data from old email servers onto 2 new servers. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $3,500 from account 1000-35900 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to the following: $1,900 to account 11331000-524211 budget and administration maintenance of software. $1,600 to account 11331000-530101 budget and administration professional services. Copies in your packet.
IT and Infrastructure.
I respectfully submit a communication from APS Director of Finance, Mark Furtado, regarding a lease of 1,000 Chromebooks on a 4-year lease with HP Financial Services. In accordance to Section 5-8 lease/lease purchase agreement of the revised ordinances of the City of Adelboro, I hereby request your honorable body to approve a 48-month lease agreement with HP Financial Services.
IT and Infrastructure.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Public Works, Michael Tyler, regarding funds needed for police details for road improvements through the Winter Recovery Assistance Program, which is also known as RAP. The Department of Public Works will be undertaking roadway resurfacing, line painting, short mill, and pave reconstruction with the RAP funds. However, police details and traffic control costs are not eligible for reimbursement through this program. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $28,600 from account 1000-35900 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account 1100-420-530101 continuing appropriation DPW professional services. Copies in your packet.
Public Works.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Agent Jessica Horseman regarding the need for funds to pay longevity for the position of the solid waste manager. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $3,200 from account 1000-35900 undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account 1510100-514030 Health Department longevity. Copies in your packet.
Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services. And Madam Clerk, are there any other communications?
Yes, sir, there are. We have the Attleboro City Clerk's communication dated May 3rd, 2022. We have an application for a new amusement device license from Spooky Games LLC at 9 North Main Street for a video game and coin pusher. A public hearing is required.
Licenses Committee and Councilor Waterman, would you like to call for a public hearing on June 7th?
That is fine.
Thank you. That requires a voice vote?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
An application for a general license to purchase and sell used games, gaming accessories, and collectibles from Spooky Games LLC at 9 North Main Street.
Licenses?
A letter was received from Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Moran in favor of the proposed change to the Mulaney Twins parking lot to accommodate more COA parking.
Public Works?
A letter signed by the entire board of the Council on Aging asking for movement on the currently stalled feasibility study request sent by the mayor in February.
Finance Committee.
Includes the communication.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. And we'll start with Councilor Waterman.
License Committee has no business this evening. We'll meet at the next appropriate time.
This is Councilor Dolan.
Public Works Committee has no business this evening. Look forward to a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
And Councilor Conti.
The Finance Committee has two measures to bring before the council this evening. From the docket of May 3rd, 2022, I move to transfer $250 from the Accounting Actuarial Services account to the Accounting Supplies account for a chair and other supplies.
Second.
Motion's in order. Do I have any comments?
I have no comments.
Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll start with Councilor Blair.
Certainly. Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
From the docket of April 5th, 2022, I move to approve the loan order of $5,200,000 needed for ozone system replacement in the West Street Treatment Plant as follows. Ordered that $5,200,000 is appropriated for the design, permitting, bidding, construction, and construction oversight costs associated with the replacement of the ozone system at the West Street Treatment Plant located at 1296 West Street, Attleboro, Massachusetts, including all costs incidental or related thereto that meet this appropriation. The treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow $5,200,000 under Section 7, Paragraph 1, Chapter 44 of the general laws or any other enabling authority, and that the mayor is authorized to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out this project.
Second.
Motion's in order. Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Vice Acting President. Sorry, I get tripped up there. The ozone system is crucial to the design and operation of the waste treatment plant. That if we were not to replace the $5 million system, the plant couldn't function. So while there are alternatives, it would require an entire plant overhaul, which would be maybe $500 million by the time we're done. So I would encourage my councilors to support this measure, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other comments from the council? Hearing none, this requires a roll call vote, starting with Councilor Waterman.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Vice President Cobus?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. That is the business, I conclude that that's the business the Finance Committee has to bring before the council this evening. I look forward to a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. And Councilor Conti, if you don't mind, could you call for a committee meeting for IT and infrastructure?
I would be happy to. I'd like to call a committee for IT and infrastructure at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Councilor Bennett.
Reporting for Transportation and Traffic Committee, one item for the council this evening. I move to delete, from the docket of April 5th, 2022, I move to delete an erroneous reference of Jewel Ave at Verndale from existing ordinance for yield signs, Chapter 10-4.6.
Second.
Motion's in order. Any comments?
Yes, this is just correcting an error in the ordinances. Jewel Ave does not connect or intersect with Verndale. So just removing this to clean that up.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, a roll call vote's required, starting with Counselor Blair.
Counselor Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Cobus.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
That concludes the business of transportation and traffic. I request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Holmes?
Thank you. Zoning and Land Use Committee has no business this evening. We'll call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Reynolds?
City Property and Claims Committee has no business this evening, and I would like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor Angelo?
Personal Veterans and Human Services has no business this evening, and we'll call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Counselor DeSimone?
Ordinance, Elections, and Legislative Matters also has no business to report this evening, and we also call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. And Counselor Blair?
Thank you. Public Safety Emergency Management has nothing to bring forward this evening. I would just like to remind the councilors, I've called for a committee meeting next week at 6:15. Chief Hegney is coming in to explain the Quinn bill in detail and what he feels that it's necessary, and get his opinion and answer any questions the council might have, because it's a little complicated. And Kyle has volunteered. I asked him, and he's more than happy to come in and give a detailed account of why he thinks it's necessary in order to us to maintain a well-educated and be able to recruit people. We're in a situation where we're losing them to other towns because they have the Quinn bill. Just for your reference, we lost a young lady to, I want to say Quincy, but it might not be. She got a 25% raise. In today's economy, you can't blame somebody for moving for that kind of money. And she was a great officer, and it was strictly financial. So
Thank you.
I think next week, if you have any questions of why or what the cost is going to be, Kyle will be able to answer those questions.
Thank you. Just as a FYI, I sent the presentation from the students to
Kyle.
Chief Agnew earlier today, and now that we have the report, I'll also forward that along to him.
Well, you spoke of the traffic study, and not traffic, the traffic enforcement. I had an incident myself over the weekend where I had to call on them. They were fantastic.
Excellent. All right. So actually, do you want to call for a committee meeting for the Senior Tax Abatement Committee?
I don't think there's a need, but let's call for one anyway. I'd like to call for a meeting of the Special Committee on Tax Abatements at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Todd, I'd like to call for a committee
sorry.
meeting.
Councilor Blair.
Also
Yes.
for Public Safety Emergency Management. I think I skipped over that.
Thank you. All right, that concludes the committee reports. We do have one item of old business to address, and I'll recognize Councilor DeSimone.
Yes, thank you very much. I need to make a motion to correct an item. So I would move, and let me know if this procedure is in error. I want to make a motion regarding the vote from March 15th, 2022, vote number 20, building fee waiver procedure, to correct a Scrivener's error on where to return the application once it was filled out. Page 3 currently states that it should be submitted to the city clerk's office. It should state submit to the municipal council office.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion's in order. Councilor DeSimone?
Just an error, so I'm happy to correct it.
Perfect. This requires a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. There is no new business, but entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's in order. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:24.